Originally, the term apocalypse meant an ancient literary genre, not a foreboding end-of-the-world event that seems to be always just around the corner. But perhaps what connects the two, that ancient meaning and that modern idea, is this flexible and ever-changing worldview we call apocalypticism. But what is it, and how do we define it, and why has it been so potent and powerful down through the ages? By definition, apocalypticism is incredibly flexible. Yet within the variety of all of these worldviews under that umbrella, there's perhaps 4 building blocks. One of them is this sense that reality is obscured, that only through special revelation or some insider knowledge can we gain insight into why things are the way they are and what is really going on. There's also often an attempt to order the world around us. Perhaps that means time and place, understanding not only who we are, but when we are, to make sense of the past, present, and future. There's often also a sense of this as trying to orient a group's identity, galvanizing belief not only for what they think, but who's in and who's out, and how that will relate to some sort of future scenario. Finally, it's not uncommon that there's some sort of oblivion on the horizon, but perhaps an outcome after a major event for the select, even elect faithful few that will come out the other side of this new dawn on the horizon. Layer onto these some of the key features of the apocalypse as a literary genre, things like revelation, symbolism, historiography, cosmic chaos, hope, and anxiety, and you have suddenly a very potent, even risky at times, way of reading the world. Apocalypticism is dynamic and comes in a variety of forms that cut across religious traditions, time, culture, media formats, and any number of movements. Now, the ancient genre of the apocalypse as a writing, of course, had very time-bound messages and meanings for those times and places. Yet, part of the lasting power of apocalypticism as a worldview is in that it provided a space to wrestle with timeless questions that alleviate anxiety, provide some sense of certainty, or ideally project some hope for the future. Apocalypticism is often contending with questions like, are things really the way they seem? Is there something more happening behind or even around us? How do we contend with loss, trauma, uncertainty? Why is injustice always prevailing, and when will good overcome? Apocalypticism as a worldview might not always clearly engage these questions or necessarily provide compelling answers to them. And that's part of what makes it so potent as well as difficult to pin down. Down through the ages, there's been a variety of applications and expressions of apocalyptic thinking. On the one hand, apocalypticism has sparked some incredible movements, art, and interpretations that provide great hope in times or seasons of uncertainty and anxiety. On the other hand, there's a tragic history of interpretation and application of apocalypticism as movements use ancient texts to divide insiders from outsiders, provide stark boundaries between the present and future, and even set individuals up for trauma, loss, heartbreak, and confusion. Often what this comes down to is the over, under, or misinterpretation of classic apocalyptic texts, such as the books of Daniel in the Old Testament and Hebrew Bible, or the book of Revelation in the New Testament. The apocalypticism of popular imagination, of course, is often paired with things like catastrophic disasters, nuclear fallout, maybe a global pandemic, and yes, of course, zombie wastelands. While these are very different and distant from what we find in early apocalyptic thinking in the ancient world, they perhaps share some dotted line sense of their DNA, in that modern apocalypticism in all of its different forms is also trying to contend with things like struggle, loss, anxiety, survival, and hope, as well as ask and answer questions about if our human existence might just map onto something that's bigger than ourselves. This glimpse into the evolution of apocalypticism as a worldview is part of a mini-series on this channel called Apocalypses Then and Now. Please do consider liking, sharing, and commenting on this video, as well as subscribing to this channel so you can get updates and notifications on more videos in this topic of apocalyptic texts and the ongoing context of apocalypticism down through the ages. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.